the Supreme Court of the Philippines. Here's the latest.
The Supreme Court, through the Ponencia of Associate Justice Ami Lazaro Javier, has unanimously ordered the return of the 60 billion peso PhilHealth funds previously transferred to the National Treasury and permanently prohibited the transfer of the remaining 29.9 billion peso fund balance. The court, by a majority vote, also declared void Special Provision 1, Paragraph D, Chapter 43 of the 2024 General Appropriations Act, or GAA, and Department of Finance Circular Number 003-2024 for having been issued and implemented with grave abuse of discretion, amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction. Special Provision 1, Paragraph D, which authorized the return of the fund balance or the excess reserve funds of government-owned or controlled corporations, or GOCCs, to the National Treasury to fund unprogrammed appropriations under the 2024 GAA, is declared a rider for not being germane to the purpose of the law. The SC also ruled that Special Provision 1, Paragraph D is unconstitutional because it impliedly repeals Section 11 of the Universal Healthcare Act, or UHCA, and the sin tax laws. Under Section 11 of the UHCA, PhilHealth is required to maintain reserve funds up to a ceiling equivalent to 2 years of projected program expenses. Each year, PhilHealth must set aside part of its net income as reserve funds, and any unused funds must be invested so that earnings are added back to these reserves. The SC ordered that the remitted 60 billion peso funds be returned to PhilHealth through the 2026 GAA. In another ruling, the Supreme Court en banc on Wednesday, December 3, 2025, declared that votes for nuisance candidates whose certificates of candidacy are cancelled or not given due course are considered stray votes and shall not be counted in favor of any other candidate. The decision, penned by Associate Justice Maria Filomena Singh, sets a new rule under the automated elections, departing from its previous rulings for manual elections, where vague votes are counted in favor of the legitimate candidate. Emphasizing that the previous rule had no basis in law, the court said that a nuisance candidate is deemed to have never filed a certificate of candidacy. The decision was in connection with a petition filed by Marcos Macoy Amutan, who was initially proclaimed as a board member of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan for the 5th District of Cavite in the 2022 elections. His proclamation was annulled when a losing candidate was declared a nuisance candidate and his votes were credited to another candidate. The Supreme Court reversed the annulment of his proclamation. The Supreme Court en banc, during its session on December 3, 2025, granted the manifestation with entry of appearance filed by the Office of the Solicitor General, or OSG, allowing the OSG to resume its role as counsel for the respondents in the case. This is in connection with a petition filed by former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte and Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa challenging Duterte's arrest and the Philippine government's cooperation with the International Criminal Court. The OSG had earlier asked to be excused from representing the respondents, which the Supreme Court granted on April 2, 2025. But the OSG on December 1 informed the court that it was again entering its appearance as counsel for the respondents and requested copies of all court issuances related to the case. The Supreme Court en banc has approved the rules on Filipino Sign Language interpreting in the Judiciary, or FSL rules, implementing Republic Act No. 11106, or the Filipino Sign Language Act. The FSL rules is formulated to guarantee deaf Filipinos equal, relevant, and effective access to justice. It shall apply in all court proceedings in cases involving deaf Filipinos to ensure their participation at any litigation stage and to grant them the right to choose their preferred mode of communication. The FSL rules was drafted by the Technical Working Group headed by SC Associate Justice Japar de Maampao as chairperson, and Associate Justice Jose Mayres Marquez as vice chairperson. The rules shall take effect on December 15, 2025, following its publication in 2 newspapers of general circulation on November 29, 2025, and on the Supreme Court website. Meanwhile, the Office of the 2025 Bar Examinations chairperson, Associate Justice Ami Lazaro Javier, has announced that the results of the 2025 bar will be released on January 7, 2026. The oath-taking and roll-signing ceremonies of successful bar examinees will be held on February 6, 2026. Meanwhile, the Office of the 2026 Sharia Special Bar Examinations, or SSBE Chairperson, Associate Justice Henry John Paul Inting, has announced the opening of the application for the 2026 SSBE until December 12, 2025. Information may be found at the Sharia Special Bar Bulletin No. 2, including application fees and payment details. Justice Inting encouraged aspiring Sharia counselors at law to prepare diligently, to trust in themselves, and to step forward with courage and conviction. On December 5, Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo led the Supreme Court's annual Christmas celebration. Emphasizing that Christmas is a season of hope, he expressed that he looks toward the new year with great hope and confidence that the SC community will carry the judiciary forward with renewed strength and unwavering dedication. He reflected on his tenure as Chief Justice for the past 5 years, this Christmas being his last as the head of the judiciary in view of his retirement in November 2026. Themed Paskong Makabago, Hudikaturang Makatao, this year's celebration included a chorale competition, performances by special guests, a decor contest, and a raffle. On December 2, 2025, members of the Sabah Law Society or SLS, led by its president, Datuk Jan Sikayun, paid a courtesy call to Associate Justices Rodil Zalameda, Jose Maris Marquez, and Raul Villanueva at the Supreme Court in Manila. Justice Zalameda and Justice Villanueva led the discussions on the similarities and differences in the hierarchy of courts, selection and appointment of judges, and Sharia courts in Malaysia and the Philippines. Also present were Deputy Clerk of Court and Chief Technology Officer Attorney Sherwin Uy, who gave updates on the digitalization of the Sharia bar examinations, and Integrated Bar of the Philippines, or IBP National President Alan Panolong, who shared that the visit is a prelude to the country's hosting of the ASEAN Bar Leaders Council Summit next year. Justice Marquez thanked the SLS and the IBP for visiting the SC, saying the SC looks forward to opportunities for collaboration. SLS is a statutory body empowered to regulate legal practice in Sabah, Malaysia. Meanwhile, on Monday, the Supreme Court, through the Committee on Gender Responsiveness in the Judiciary, or CGRJ, joined the commemoration of World AIDS Day by conducting an outreach activity at Duyan Center in Manila, a shelter for children living with HIV. The CGRJ is co-chaired by Associate Justices Henry John Paul Inting, Josep Lopez, and Maria Filomena Singh. The Duyan program under Project Red Ribbon aims to provide care and support to children living with HIV in the Philippines.
You are now up to date with the Philippine Supreme Court. I am Tiffany Double-Trans, Supreme Court Information Officer.